Show me the money. All right, in the last video, I talked a little bit about where magazines make their money, and now I want to delve into that a little bit more so that you understand where you fit in to this picture. Now, the first thing that I want you to do is open up another window in your browser and then Google Wired Magazine Rate Sheet. It might also be Wired Magazine spec sheet, depending on what the ad terms are doing right now. Now, this is the document that tells advertisers, potential advertisers, what it costs to take out one print page of advertising in Wired Magazine. And now, most magazines have something like this available on their websites anywhere. And before you ever approach anyone, I highly suggest you understand how much money these people are potentially making, or at least how they intend to monetize the stuff that they're doing. Now, if you look at Wired's media kit, and there's if you go to their website, sort of on the right side, halfway down the page, it says download media kit. I want you to download that PDF, and maybe if I will try to put a link to it down here so that you can download it yourself and just see what I am talking about. This document is what Wired says to, say, Ford Motor Company. When Ford says, I want to go buy an ad, this is what they say. Here's why we're valuable. Now, this is not necessarily reflective of exactly what they're making. This is their pitch to Ford to make them money. But I want you to think about it in the terms of how you approach the magazine to ask for money. The exact wording will not work in the way that they've done it, but it's always a value proposition. They are looking at their content, their interview with, say, Barack Obama, or their awesome feature on drones, not only as an informative and educational way to help the world, but they're also trying to say, look, I'm going to put this magazine content in here and it's going to make us money because we have a bottom line. And if you look at the, one of the first pages there says, we have a 62 million monthly reach. We have 20 million digital downloads, 2.8 million in print views. We have social media, we have video, we have events, and all of those things make them money in one way or another. They have found a way to take words and alchemically transform them into cash. Now, I want you to scroll down a little bit further to where it says print rates. Just go down the page. It says audience and blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to scroll right now as I talk to you. And sorry, I had it queued up a second ago, and now I'm failing you in this video. That's really sad. Okay, but anyway, everything they have here is interesting. It says audience. Their total audience is 2.7 million. On Wired.com, it's 20 million, 72% men, 28% women, median age, a median income of these people. They're literally monetizing their audience right in front of me as I scroll down here. They're young, they're affluent, they're influential, and Wired is now offering you an opportunity to have some space in their 100-page magazine, or however long it is. I think Wired's pretty short now. And so if you go to general advertising rates, and this is about, about 20 pages into their issue. It says one page, 4-color advertisement. And this is not Wired. This is actually this is Men's Health, but you get the idea. Here's the cover, and someone opens it up, and then there's some articles. And look, there's a 4-color page ad. Now, this is going to be a very similar ad rate for Men's Health as it is for Wired, I'm sure. One page, 4-color ad. Wait for this. $151,000, $177,000. So 150 grand for one page of advertising. There's what, 20, 30 ads in the book? That is a lot of money that shows up in this magazine. I did a calculation not so long ago when I was pitching a website called Word Rates, trying to encourage writers to fight for their business, that said that, look, these magazines are making about $30 million on every issue just in print. But they're also monetizing digital. They're also monetizing social, video, events, all of these things. And they're all doing it piggybacking on the words that you're about to write, on the thing that gets the reader to want to sit through it. Now, if you are a reader, I get magazines all the time. So I read on my couch, I read on the toilet or whatever, but I'm not looking at the ads, right? I'm there because I want these riveting stories, and these are the riveting stories that you are going to create because that's what you're here for. That's why you're here. Now, how do writers make money, right? How is it that where do you come in, right? Now, Wired is considered one of the top markets in the country. They pay the starting base rate is $1.50 per word. That is the rate that they're going to tell you initially that they want to publish your work at. And 150 seems pretty good. You write a 5,000 word article. That's not an insignificant chunk of change in your pocket. $7,500 is pretty good, right? 5,000 words runs about 5,000 words probably runs 3 or 4 pages. If they ran 3 or 4 pages of advertising there, they're making $450,000. $450,000, and you're making $7,500. That should put into perspective a little bit how the disparity that you're working with when you go out to pitch a magazine like Wired. But really, I don't mean to pick on Wired. I love Wired. I got my start in Wired. And they publish really good stories. But every magazine does this business model to some degree or another. They have offices, they have overhead, they have editors, they have fact checking, they have all of that stuff, and they're there to turn a profit. And in order to do that, in general, what they do is try to take as much profit from you as possible. So here's the question. If Wired is making money in all of those different ways, again, print, digital, social media, events, video, how is it that you, as an author, are supposed to make money? Now, obviously, there is the magazine payment that they give you, $1.50 a word. Although maybe they'll go up to three a word. Maybe they'll go up to 5 a word. I don't know. That is your initial word rate, and very rarely does the money that you make from them really cover your living expenses. Now, even if I've written a bunch of stories for Wired, right? And I think the most I've made on a story is probably like $18,000 from them. And $18,000 sounds like a really good amount of money. But that story took me 6 months to write, because remember, we were just talking about timelines in this. And it takes, the first, from the idea to payment could be 6 months. In some cases, it could even be a year. So that $18,000 is suddenly not looking nearly as good. So what is it there for? It's there just to get you by, in my opinion, just for the day to day. But there's other ways you can make money too, right? Your idea, your story is something that can grow into more. So there's that initial money. Let's say you're making $20,000, but even if you're making $200 at Vice, or at the Atlantic Online, or at your own website, you can still look at other ways to monetize this. And one of the first ways, the first line of offense, are reprints. It's like you print it in Wired, they run it for a certain time, then you print it in another magazine. There are book deals. You have this one really great idea that paid you a little bit, you've spent 6 months on. Why not grow it into something bigger? Now, a book deal, that could make you $50,000 is a very ordinary intro book deal, but you can make hundreds of thousands of dollars on book deals. There's also movies. Stories in magazines can be optioned by Hollywood and turned into movies. In fact, on options, You don't even have to go to TV in order to make the money. There's a whole ecosystem of agents and sub-agents and Hollywood producers fighting each other because they want original, what they call IP, or intellectual property. That initial IP are the words that you have produced, that narrative. Let's say you wrote a book, an article on drones, and this intrepid drone creator who fought against all odds to make the best drone company in the world. I don't know. It sounds like a dumb movie, but let's say they wanted this movie. They would have to pay you for the opportunity to make that into something. And the first thing they do is what is called an option. An option is essentially just them placing reserves, saying, this is our idea, you can't sell it to anyone else. The lowest option I've ever heard of is about $1,500. I've seen options as much as $20,000 for just the option in order to take your thing to production. Now, if it actually gets made into something, you get paid again. When the option is what they call set up, which means a studio says, okay, we want to make it. And that can be like 50,000, that's pretty common. And then if it gets made into the movie, that's like 100 grand. There is a lot of money in movies, and you should not take that off of your radar. The other things that you can do, merchandising. I don't know, maybe you did that thing on drones and you had your own brand of drones you put out. I don't know, that sounds hard. But let's say you did that, or drone stickers. Totally doable. Lectures, actually doing public events. If you have a really big story that you spent a long time on, you might be an expert on that topic. Lecturing at universities, lecturing at corporations, all depends on what it is that you're doing. Various public appearances have opportunity. You could even do a video course about writing. Yeah, let's skip that. There's all sorts of things that you can do in order to monetize your work. And I really encourage you to think about growing. Your idea comes out, and it's not just that story that you put your passion into. It's what happens after that story. Oftentimes that 5,000 words or that 200 words or whatever it is that you started on is not enough for you. And you don't need to be closed and stop and just go on to the next assignment. You can say, okay, I'm going to dig in. I'm going to actually grow this thing and make this something that I want to spend more time on. For me, what that means is I only write like one magazine story a year. Sometimes, at my height, when I was doing mostly magazines, I would write 5 stories a year, and that was the maximum because I was working on the growth potential. And you can too. So how is it that you keep that growth potential? Now I said that magazines want to steal your rights. Well, they do. And they want to make all of that the things that I just said that you could do, they want to pull that into their own business model because, hey, they're businesses and that's what they do. So the next thing I want to talk about is negotiating a contract and what to do there. And hopefully you'll learn something. All right, here we go.